Chapter 702. A short while later, the beautiful female manager walked back into the diamond room. At this time a timid young man was following behind her and his head was lowered as though he did not dare to look up at all. Trump and everyone else in the Calligraphy and Painting Association were all very confused at this time. They could not help but wonder why Don Stephen would prepare this kid as a performance for them. In fact, there was nothing special about this young man at all. As soon as the young man walked into the diamond room, he immediately bowed in front of Don Stephen without saying anything at all. After a short while, he said in a fearful and respectful manner, "Uncle Don Stephen, I am here to report to you now. Please inspect my scar." This person was none other than Ethan Joey. That day, after carving the words "pathetic jerk" on Ethan's forehead at Pinewood Resort, Don Stephen had directly instructed him to come to Black Pepper every week so that he could check and inspect his scar in person. This was to ensure that this guy did not do any scar removal or cosmetic surgery procedures to remove the scar on his forehead. However, Don Stephen did not know that the reason why Ethan had come here today was not just to report to him, but he was also here as a spy because he wanted to make a stand for himself. Ever since he stepped into Black Pepper, Ethan has been silently counting the number of security guards that were inside the building. After entering the diamond room, Ethan also took a close look at the people inside the room. When he saw that the room was simply filled with old men, Ethan was very relieved. Even if this group of old men were Don Stephen's friends, Ethan was certain that they would have no combat effectiveness at all. Ethan was very confident that he could easily knock them down easily. At this time, Don Stephen said to Ethan, "Ethan, these are the leaders of the Orris Hill Calligraphy and Painting Association. Since it is the Calligraphy and Painting Association, they naturally have a lot of research and accomplishments in calligraphy. Come, lift up your head so Mr. Richard and his guests can take a look at the calligraphy on your forehead and comment on it." As soon as he heard Don Stephen's words, Ethan's heart was filled with a surge of humiliation. He wanted to turn around and leave immediately. However, he knew very well that his father was still waiting for him to go back and report the situation to him before he could send his men in to deal with and get rid of Don Stephen. Therefore, Ethan knew that he had to hold back and continue putting on an excellent act in front of Don Stephen. As he thought about it, Ethan could only grit his teeth as he slowly raised his head so everyone in the room could take a look at his forehead. Even though most of these old men were not young and most of them had presbyopia, the words "pathetic jerk" that were carved on Ethan's forehead were so clear and striking that every one of them could recognize it at a glance. Mr. Ralph could not help but exclaim in amazement, "What's going on? Young man, why do you want to engrave the words 'pathetic jerk' on your forehead?" Don Stephen sneered before he said, "This young man has a very filthy mouth. He has a bad habit of calling everyone around him pathetic jerks. He offended Master Anderson and he even called Master Anderson a pathetic jerk. Therefore, I decided to teach him a lesson. Since he likes the words 'pathetic jerk' so much, I thought that I would just engrave those words on his forehead so that these two words can accompany him for the rest of his life." At this time, Trump could not help but asked in surprise, "You mean to say that the reason why he has these two words engraved on his forehead is because he offended my son-in-law?" "Yes." Don Stephen nodded slightly before he said, "Your son-in-law is the great Master Anderson. So, how can I possibly allow anyone to call him a pathetic jerk?" Mr. Ralph asked in surprise, "Oh, Trump, why haven't you told us that you have such a powerful and amazing son-in-law?" "Exactly." David also sighed as he said, "Trump, you are really hiding a lot of things from us. You are really very low-key." Trump laughed before he said, "Oh, my son-in-law is also a very low-key person. Therefore, it won't be appropriate for me to be too high-profile." Everyone was filled with admiration and respect at this time. Ethan looked at Trump with a smug expression on his face. He thought viciously to himself, "Old man, so it turns out that you are the father-in-law of that bastard Alex. Then, you really hit the jackpot today." I am going to take your life today. Just think of it as me claiming some interest from your damn son-in-law.